Okay. I think it is time. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, and welcome to Tech Chances Community Chit Chat. And this is a session. This is an online community chit chat session that happens once every month. And the main idea is for us to be able to discuss about common things around our community that can help us increase ourselves, become better people, and of course, make more money and see how we can live in a better way. Last session, we had a chit chat around if AI is going to take our jobs, and we were hosted by two prolific speakers. This time around, we'll be talking about a very, very sensitive and important topic, which has to do with finances, which has to do with healthy decisions and wise decisions, which we can make to ensure that we can live very well even on low income. And today we have two amazing guests. We have two amazing people that are going to help us to manage this session, help give us their insights. We have Mr. Otto B. Isong, Managing Director of Genie Capital, and we have Engineer Nde Alice. I could go ahead and give them a very, very long profile, but I'll rather them to introduce themselves. But before that, just to be sure that you can hear me, please, you can just unmute your mic and say money or say cap or say anything that you feel comfortable.
Nkwa.
Money.
Cap.
Bam.
Section team.
Section team. Bam.
Great. So I hear money, I hear bam, I hear cap, I hear section team. So it shows that you can get me 5 on 5. So without much ado, we'll start with they say ladies before gentlemen. Please, with a round of applause, let's welcome Engineer Nde Alice to introduce herself to us and tell us who she is. Please show some love with some emojis on the screen. Thank you. Alice, over to you.
Hi everyone. Wow, I feel very, very welcome. So good evening, everyone. My name is Alice Nde. I'm a software engineer by training, and I am currently the CTO and co-founder of Nkwa. And I relate so much to the topic we are going to talk about today, because one of my primary goals as of now is really to participate in financial inclusion for people in Cameroon and Africa as a whole. So it's going to be a very, very interesting session. And thank you very much to Tech Shanti for having me on board. And I'm very glad to share the panel with Mr. Otto. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you very much for honoring this invitation. And so we move to Mr. Otto B. Song. Please, we would like to know you. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and everything that we need to know.
Please, sorry, Mr. Please, the speakers should put on at least they should introduce themselves with their cameras on for people to see their face and to know who are talking. I think that's the best way we could.
Okay, they want to put a face to the name. So, Mr. Otto, after you.
Okay. Good evening all, and welcome to this session. I am Otto Beseka Isong, that's what B stands for. I'm trained in accounting and finance, but I work more as a designer, a product designer for tech. I currently run Genie Capital. It's an investment and property management firm. Before this, I ran Aqua Jobs and something else. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I call him, we fondly call him Chief Otto. So Alice, they would like to see your face if that's not so much of a request. Yeah, cool. So you could do it again, introduce yourself again. Yeah, Alice, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Alice, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. With the camera on, I'll introduce myself again. But please, I just want to mention I might have to switch it off really just to preserve bandwidth because we live in a country where the connection is not the best, so we just have to deal with it. But yeah, once more, I'm called Alice Lee. I'm a software engineer by training, and I'm the co-founder and CTO at Nkwa. And yeah, Nkwa is primarily around what we are going to discuss today. So I'm not here to pitch Nkwa, but it really ties in line with this. So I'm very, very happy and excited to be here. One of my primary goals is really around financial inclusion. So I think this topic is really, really going to be an interesting one. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you. So we have been able to see our two guests, that two people that are going to assist us in piloting this session. And just an overview, this chit chat is going to be in two parts. The first part, which is 1 hour, is going to be discussion where they are going to share their ideas, their insights. And after that, if you have questions, please just either you drop the questions on the comment section, or you just wait after the 1 hour, and then we'll have a point where you can ask your questions, and then they'll be able to give you answers based on the context of this discussion. So we'll dive straight into the discussion. So I think the first question, the first thing which I'm going to direct this question to Mr. Otto Beseka is, Mr. Otto, what is money? Right? And they say money, 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 money. What is money?
The truth is, none of us knows exactly what is money, but at least we know what money does. Okay, we have the functions of money. Money serves three main functions. Okay, the first function is a medium of exchange. We can use it to buy and sell stores. Before there was barter, before you got something that you could not produce, you had to exchange what you had with somebody who has what you wanted. So if you had cocoyams but you wanted palm oil, okay, you needed to find somebody who has palm oil and who wants cocoyams, so you could exchange it directly with the person. But with money, we eliminated that problem. Okay, so it acts as a medium of exchange. The next function is a store of value. Okay, you have 10,000 francs today. Let's consider that inflation is not an issue. That will still be 10,000 francs tomorrow, and it doesn't depreciate. Okay, it maintains the value over time compared to other things around. Last but not the least it is a unit of account. Okay, that's what you use to determine price. Everything in our world today is measured. If it has economic value, it's measured in money. Okay, in Cameroon we use francs CFA. In the world, they mostly use dollar. So it is a unit of account. Now, these are the three main functions of money. The last function, which is not considered by many economists as a very important function, is deferred payment. Okay, you owe somebody 10,000 francs today. You can use the same money to pay that person maybe in 2-3 years' time. Okay, these are the functions of money. And often, when we economists talk about money, they talk about these functions, not necessarily about what money truly is. If you go around trying to find out what money truly is, you may not see it. Okay, but with these functions, that's medium of exchange, store of value, unit of account, and used for deferred payment. Okay, we have a good grasp of what we can do with money. I hope your question is answered.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Otto, for that explanation around money. Now, everybody wants money, but how do we actually get money? Right? I'll direct this question to Alice. Alice, what's the regular way a regular Cameroonian will have money in this country?
Well, thank you so much for the question. I think the regular means by which people have money currently, which is one of the most obvious, is really by having a job. At the end of the day, you get employed either by a small business owner, either by the government, either by any institution, and at the end of every month, you have a salary coming in. It could be 35,000, 45,000, 50, 100, 150. So that's one of the ways by which people really do to have money. Another way is really by really starting up your own thing, right? But even to start up, you need to have an initial capital, which would lead to people generally meeting up with family and friends to say, hey, I have this initiative I would like to start up. Please help support, support your own. And they can put in a little bit of money. You can start a little business. It could be a lot of people do, like in Boya, for instance, you'd see a lot of young entrepreneurs who do hairdressing, selling of items online, and a lot of those. So you also have people who are really just taking the initiative to employ themselves and do their businesses on a small scale and still survive with the shortcomings of life. So I think those are the two prominent things that we really find today in our society.
Thank you, Alice. Stawato, do you have anything to add as regards how people can actually have money?
We have gifts too. Most of us, we have families and friends. Once in a while, they gift us money. Then you have some people say urgent 2K. Somebody will send them the urgent 2K. That's a primary source of money for most people. Then we have loans. Okay, we could actually get money from loans. We belong to Jangi houses and things like that, right? And there are two that are they are not legal, but they are also sources of money. Okay, you have embezzlement and stealing. Yep, embezzlement and stealing. You are not selling a product, you hold somebody at gunpoint and take their money. You've had the money. And these guys who are officers in the government and private institutions who steal money from the coffers without, they play games to steal money, okay? So those are other sources of money. And I bet you there are those of us here who know people who make money through stealing and embezzlement. Thank you.
Okay, I see some laughters in the comments, and I hope this gets us to the right end. So you've talked about the different ways of making money, but almost everybody complains that I don't have enough money, I'm running short of money. So let's continue with you, Mr. Otto. What is the cause of? Is it that people don't have money, or what's the cause of people always running short of finances?
It's a hard question.
Or but generally, no money, or right, there's no money, maybe.
One of the best economies we have on earth is the US. Okay, and the US has given it has a good access to credit. Okay. You may wonder that the average American citizen goes to college on credit. Like the average American citizen goes to college on credit. In Cameroon, it's not like that. So I think that is one of our biggest challenges in an economy like Cameroon. And this lack of credit, okay, stems from the fact that we don't have institutions that build trust among people. Okay, we lack that mechanism. So a society where trust is not evident, okay, it will be difficult for people to give money to us for whatever it is, whether investment or give or whatever. Okay, and it's the exchange of money that actually leads to development. Without that exchange, there is no development. Economists call it the velocity of money. In Cameroon, we have a very low velocity. Our money doesn't spin very fast. Whereas in other parts of the world, their money spins very fast. So you have those people making lots and lots of money. Okay. Another thing is there is an enabling environment that enables people to innovate, to create things, and the market appreciates these things. A society where people are open to new innovations, okay, they create new forms of money, or they create new value, and money is a store of value, right? It means they are creating new money. Each time somebody creates a new product, okay, and the market appreciates that and buys, even if you can say the thing sucks, but it appreciated. And sooner than later, the person gets to the point where the person actually has something that really works. That is new money that is being created. We don't have that kind of environment here in Cameroon. So you see, people start things and it take them forever. They might never get to the point where it is fully appreciated by the society, because the few that could have appreciated it when it started did not do what they had to do. Okay. Another thing is we lack industries, right? Our educational system, all of these things make it such that we don't produce a lot of value. And when you don't produce a lot of value, you are certain that you cannot make a lot of money. Now, the last but not the least is our government. It's enacted policies that actually work against Cameroonians producing value. So the long and short of all of this is, when we lack trust, okay, and we don't produce value, no matter what we do, the majority of the people in that society will not have money. That's where we find ourselves.
Okay. So it's like we are in a society that is at a disfavor to us, but I mean, there are people that have been surviving, there are people that have been making it either genuinely or non genuinely. And there's this common saying that cut your coat according to your size, and it could be like some kind of budget. So I'll take this question to Alice. Alice, what do you think about this aspect of cut your coat according to your size? Or is it according to your material, according to your budget? So what will you say around that aspect so that people can still be able to live within their means?
So the thing is, we live in a society where there is a lot of lack. Like, generally, we want a lot of things, but unfortunately, we don't have the means to get it. Now, people often confuse dreaming and maybe how to stay in check with reality, if I can call it that way. Like, if I take Boya, for instance, you see, you might just have a normal university student who is going to school, really no source of income, right? But that person is dreaming to maybe get the latest 15 Pro Max, and you ask yourself a question I mean, that is good to dream that eventually I can work hard and get the 15 Pro Max, but you see, generally, we're in a society where people are like, okay, I need a 15 Pro Max. What do I do in order for me to get it right now? And you see, they'll generally go either legally or illegal. So either I can decide to maybe start a whole scamming something, which is another debate for another day. Or as a girl, I can maybe date a scammer or date someone who is rich, who can potentially give me that money. And that's the general issue with us, because first, we don't have, but the little we have, we are not very contented with it. And we turn out to look at how can we do this or this or this. So we generally want to move like so fast that we totally omit the fact that, hey, this thing it's a gradual process. It's one step at a time. You have the end goal, you have the end vision, but you don't just jump from where you are to reach there, right? It takes a lot of work, time, and effort. And unfortunately for us, our generation does not understand that. Reason why there is a lot of education that needs to be done for people to really understand why it's important. It's very, very true that the system in which we are is not enabling at all. It's very, very difficult to survive. If you take in a school milieu, for instance, look at the number of graduates graduating every year. Look at the people who end up being employed. You see, an unemployment rate is over like 60%. So it's very, very hard, very difficult, and very frustrating. And people generally turn out to do little things on their own skill, but they are not very satisfied with what they have. So they turn out to be like, hey, even if I need to kill to get this thing that I want, I'm going to do it. It's a good mindset to be like, it's good to have the fighting mindset, but it's also good to understand the steps that you need to take in order to reach to where you are, which I think is something that people completely miss. But at the end of the day, it's a very, very complex thing. And I think at the end, no one really has the answers, right? Everyone is really just trying to move things at their own level to really make things rise and things like that. So there is no right or wrong answer at the end of the day from what I can say to this specific question. But it's more of self-evaluation. People need to, like we spoke, I think earlier I spoke about budgeting. That's something a lot of people don't do. You see, you earn very little, but your budget, you do a budget and it's way beyond even your earnings. And I mean, it can raise some questions like, how do you even intend to meet up with what you're just from doing? And that's why at the end of the day, we have all of the things happening around. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I won't leave you yet. I need you to like give me or give the audience specific things that you should take in consideration when doing budgeting. Take for example, you are a university student that is either almost graduating or just graduated. How will you advise them as regards budgeting so that they can live within the means of their income that they have?
So my advice for them would be like I let me take myself as an example, right? So I have a job where I have a salary every month. Now my salary might not be what I ideally dream of, right? But when I'm budgeting, I take into consideration, okay, for instance, I know I would need a house because my rent is soon coming to expire. Now, relative to what I'm currently earning, can I afford to live in a studio or not? That's the first question. If I cannot afford, what is the next thing which could be affordable within my means? Relative to that, I noted down that okay, maybe I can get a room 35,000 per month. Okay, probably that's affordable for me. I noted down. Now, what are some of the fixed expenditures that I do every month? For instance, I always need to get a taxi to go to work. So transportation is included, feeding is included, and all of that. And generally, when you do that planning, you're able to come out with a list with basically how much you need in order to take care of yourself. You know, there's this saying that at times you just need to be able to do the list it takes to survive. So, you know, everybody would probably want to eat burning fish every night, but it's not because you want that obviously you would afford or you would go ahead and you'd be eating burning fish every night, because you would do that for a week, but it's not sustainable, because how do you feed yourself in the next 3 to 4 weeks? So at the end of the day, people also need to understand that you need to cut off on cost. You know, at times you might have something which you feel like is the best alternative, but because of your current means and your current earnings now, you can be like, okay, let me go for this other thing. And there's this rule, like the 50-30-20 rule, which is like a very, very good rule for people to follow, because generally when people get money, they don't know how to spend it, or they don't know how to even manage it. Like, how much should I probably save, invest, or how much should I spend on myself? So that rule is like a very good principle that I would advise a lot of people here to follow, where the rule clearly says that, hey, regardless of how much you have, you can take 50% of it and allocate it maybe to your needs. You can take 30%, allocate it to your wants. You can take 20% and allocate it to this other thing. So it's a general rule, but it ties up to almost every use case. So relative to that, you can have your monthly income and everything, and then you use, like, we have several budgeting techniques and several budgeting rules like the one I just mentioned. So you can use that, and then you plan your expenditures basically. And it's not a very easy thing to do, because the reality is that at times you might plan, but it still does not work. But at the end of the day, you really just, that's why, you know, at times it's just that, okay, you are really in a messed up situation and you need to do your best to get out of it. Reason why now the whole ambition thing will come up. Like, you clearly see that, hey, I'm probably earning 60,000 at this job. It's not sustainable at all. So how do I get out of it? And that kind of environment also can push you to maybe think of different ways that can really make you get like some extra cash in order for you to survive. But with the little you have, you can apply very key budgeting rules that you can help and save money. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Alice. I think we'll come back to you a bit later. Let's move to the experience of an older person like Mr. Otto here. Alice talked a lot about spending on reckless things, cutting down on your budget. But you know, us young people be like, allow me to enjoy myself. If the problem where you get time today, the money no fit solve and chop the money, tomorrow you find another money. But I want to get you, Mr. Otto, the way you unmuted your mic, seems like you want to react to that. Please go ahead.
No, I was just chuckling. If the money no be solve your problem, chop the money.
Yeah. So, I would like you to just mention some of the things you feel like people engage themselves, some unnecessary expenses that people engage themselves, which if they cut it down, they could actually have a very good budgeting and healthy living, even though with low finances. So what are those things that you feel like they are not so important, which people are engaging themselves in?
Generally, we have needs. These are things we really can't do without, okay? Then we have wants. These are things, when we have them, we will feel better, we'll feel good about ourselves, but without them, we will still go on with life, okay? The average human being, our needs are very, very small. Even a budget of let's say 30K per month can cover for most of the needs for students who have whose parents have already paid for their house rents and things like that. Okay, 30K can cover for them on a month-to-month basis. Okay, but because of our wants, and often we prioritize our wants more than the needs, we tend to start needing a lot more on a month-to-month basis. So the thing we are supposed to be considering is, what do we need? What are the things we cannot do without? You need food. That's one. The food you need may not necessarily be eating burning fish, roasted fish every night. You just need food. You need to have breakfast, lunch, and supper. Okay, if you want 3 square meals, or just breakfast and maybe supper. But you need food. You need transportation, okay? You need airtime. These are the things we need, okay? If we focus on just our needs, we'll realize that the bulk of the money we earn, whether they are gifts or our small hustling or whatnot, will cover for it. But if we start looking at our wants, we need a phone. What kind of phone? Do you need an iPhone Pro Max or a 15 Pro Max? That's the question. Why do you need that phone? Because you are comparing with your friend. Somebody whose sources of income you have no idea about. Okay? Consider, if we really want to live within our budget, is to stop comparing. But we can't stop, because all along we have social media, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok. Every day we have TV. Every day marketers are bombarding things at us. Our friends are bombarding these things at us. So we are constantly in a state of anxiety, in a state of feeling inferior because of the things we lack in our lives. Okay? If we can discipline ourselves so much so that we stop listening to all of these external stimuli and focus on just our needs, we'll realize that the bulk of the income we earn on a month-to-month basis, okay, we provide for them. It's that discipline, it's mental discipline that we need. Then the values, okay, we are supposed to realign our values to basically what the story to call the basics of life. Get the basics, find yourself, be contented with the little you have, and make sure you maximize it. To me, that is the secret. Most people think I'm a minimalist, yes, but that's what I do. Now, the other thing is, for you to be able to know that you are within budgets, on a month-to-month basis, you are supposed to be keeping track of how much you earn and how much you spend. Okay? You're supposed to keep track of how much you earn and how much you spend. You may not necessarily write it, you may not have it in a spreadsheet, but it is good to have an idea of the amount of money you earn on a month-to-month basis and how much you spend for whatever thing. That way, when you understand what is the big expenses, you start asking yourself, are these things really needs or are they wants? If they are wants, how do I cut them off? So you have the discipline and you have records. Okay, these are the two things I believe will help us to live within our budgets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Otto. So I hear your discipline and I hear you being able to keep track. I also hear you're not succumbing to the pressure of other people as regards pushing you to do the things that you don't want to do. So I would like us to extend this aspect of record keeping. Let's go to Alice. Alice, how will you say it's a nice? Oh, Alice seems to have left the call. Maybe internet issues. Hopefully she joins us back. So we'll continue back with Mr. Otto. What can you go a bit deeper at the level of keeping track of your finances so that the audience can understand how to better do that?
Okay. We've already identified the main sources of income for most people. We identified gifts. I won't talk about embezzlement and stealing. I assume all of us are good people, so we'll forget about embezzlement and stealing. We have gifts. These are gifts we get from friends and family. Okay. For those who are working, we have their fixed salary on a month-to-month basis. Then we actually do some hustling around, right? So we get fees and commissions. Okay. You may be working with a company, but you are not. But you have side hustles, okay? You won't call those side hustles that they are paying you a salary. They pay you a fee or a commission if it's commission-based, okay? Then we have loans. Let's forget about loans and profits. Let's just take gifts, salary, fees, and commission, okay? On a month-to-month basis, how much you earn as gifts from your friends and family, you record that. How much you earn as your salary, you record that. The hustle you do around, how much you earn, you record that. That is your sources of finance. You keep track of it. Now, what are the uses? The biggest aspect of it is our living expenses. Okay, you pay transport, you buy food stuff, you do your shopping, groceries, and all. No, you spend for telecommunication, internet, and airtime, for calls and SMS. Once in a while, you get sick, you buy medicine, you go to the hospital. Okay, these are all living expenses. You categorize them. Those are the things that you need to be alive. Okay. The next thing is, do you save? How much do you save? That's one of the reasons money goes out of you. If your total sources of finance was 100,000 and you spend, let's say, 90,000 on your living expenses, what happens to 10,000? Do you dash somebody? You could give somebody too, or you could save it. Okay. Then we also belong to Jangis. So now the first thing is get these categories and try as much as possible to be keeping track of things within these various categories. Okay. Estimate how much you spend on transportation, on a month-to-month basis, how much you spend on telecommunication, how much you spend on entertainment. You and friends go out, you buy drinks, okay? That's entertainment. How much you spend on it? Estimate how much you spend on your food, feeding, okay? Your normal food in the house. When you go out to eat with friends, it's not feeding anymore. That's entertainment, okay? So have these categories, okay? And try on a week-to-week basis. It may not be daily. Daily will be too laborious. On a week-to-week basis, to keep track of the things within this category, so that at the end of the month, right, you will have a table. This is the amount that came in. This is the amount that went out. How much am I short of? If I'm short, how did I do to finance it? Okay, did I have surplus from last month that enabled me to finance it, or did I borrow? Then you realize that becomes the borrowing, the loan becomes another source of inflow for you. Okay, this I believe is what each and every one of us can do. You don't need to be an accountant to do that. Okay, I could share. I think people have listened. And you can just use what I've said to get the various categories, okay? You have sources of finance, gifts, you take it down. You have salary, okay? Then you have fees and commissions. Then you have loans. These are the 4 main sources, okay? Then you have your living expenses. You have savings. Then you have gifts. These are the things that take money out of you, or loan repayments. When you repay loan. Living expenses, you have things like transportation, telecommunication, feeding, entertainment, the things that enable you to live as a human being, okay? When you save, that's just savings. Then you have gifts. When you give somebody money, you keep track of it. And when you repay your loans, you keep track of it. Okay? Do this on the right. On one side, gifts, the income; on the other side, the outflows. Okay? Then you compare the two. Which one is bigger? The income minus the inflow minus the outflow will give you a balance. And you keep doing that on a month-to-month basis. Thank you. I hope it's clearer. I really hope it's clearer.
Thank you, Chief. I think you've really quite explained quite well there. Alice, are you back?
Yes, I'm here. I'm very sorry.
Yes, Alice is here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay, great. So we'll move to Alice now. After Mr. Otto has talked about the budgeting, the needs, the wants, the things we should focus on, the things we shouldn't focus on, there is this very big part of expense that sometimes it's either you do it or you feel like you are not doing the right thing. It's around family. And when you, especially in Africa is a community-based society where you know that you are not alone. You get engaged into things like, oh, there's this born house here, or there's this cry die here, or there's this person that needs my help. How do you get to be able to assist, yet not to run dry and not be in a position where you feel like you're the wicked one who doesn't want to assist because you're trying to practice financial freedom, or trying to practice the necessary steps to live healthily even on low income?
Okay. Thank you for the question. So this now is a very, very complex question, because we are in Africa and it's really all about family, right? And it's generally a very, very large family, and there's just this natural rule that whenever you step further and you have the means, then you should naturally just help those who are behind, or in fact, not necessarily behind, but you should help the others. So it's very, very complex, because I personally have had several of these kind of issues where you at times you ask yourself the question, when do I stop helping? You cannot just stop. But I mean, if every month you find yourself sending a lot of money to your family members, then you, at one point in time, you start questioning yourself that, but these people would eventually make me go completely dry if I don't pay attention. And the truth is, my own advice would be, you need to know when to set a limit, because in as much as it's very, very vital to help and to really give back, you need to put a limit to it. If not, at the end of the day, you go dry and everybody will say, well, Asha, it is well, which now does not really help you. And I mean, eventually, if you die, life will still go on and people will still survive through one way or the other. So it's very, very difficult, but you need to be able to tell yourself that, hey, if there's this born house and then they're saying, or maybe there's this wedding, they're asking every family member to contribute 50,000. I can manage and look for 20 or 25 and I sell, knowing that I've done my part. It might not be up to the target, but I've really just tried and I've given my own contribution. So at the end of the day, the truth is, no one would obviously always like you, right? Even in your family, people would, I don't want to call it hatred, but they'll talk bad about you. Regardless of what you do, you could be the nicest person on earth and they would still talk bad about you. So these are just things that are inevitable, especially in our context. So at the end of the day, you can really just do the little you can. And I mean, the rest, you remove your hand and you're like, hey, I really cannot do everything. So because you have your life to build, you have your own plans and everything. So if you take almost everything you're earning and you and you give back to your family, then at the end of the day, you might just put yourself in a very, very difficult financial situation. And there is really another thing around loaning money to family members, or it's a very difficult thing, because once you do it, personally, I want to share this little experience. I've actually loaned a lot of money to my family members, and one day my brother told me, your family is generally like not entitled to pay you back what you loan to them. And I was like, oh, what do you mean by that? Like, so it was just a clear sign to say that, hey, if it's a stranger, you can bring them to court, but you won't pull your brother or your sister to court because they are owing you. It's true, some people do it, but generally you won't do it. And reason why, whenever you loan them money, they don't feel that pressure to give back. So these are things that you need to be very mindful of whenever you're helping people. You need to understand that at the end of the day, money shouldn't be the tool that comes in between your relationship with your family. So how do you do to balance that? Rather than putting yourself in a hole and trying to look for how to get out, just put some barriers early on. If you know, I'm earning this is the maximum I can afford, then it's totally fine at the end. They would call you greedy, they would call you selfish, but regardless of what you do, they would still give you names. So that would be my advice.
Okay, so I think I'll call it Wicked Alice, who does not want to give money to her family. Uh, that's what you get termed. I see Mr. Otto's hand up. Otto, we're coming to you. Please just chill. I know you are somebody who has experience. I'm sure there's a lot you have to say here. Yes, let's. But Alice, no, don't mind. I'm calling you wicked. I'm just saying that's how you could get termed if you decide to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. We understand. We understand.
Okay. Before you hold me someday and say, "Oh, he called me wicked on the call." Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Otto, please tell us with some wisdom. You, as somebody who has a family, when you get to that position where you are struggling with your personal finance and family is trying to drag you into something that you feel like is going to distort it, how do you advise to handle in such cases?
I am very blunt. Like, when I don't have, I tell my family that I don't have. And I think we have all come to that understanding, okay, that sometimes people are down, okay, and it's okay. I think people should not put themselves under unnecessary pressure when they cannot meet up with family commitments today. Because those commitments will keep coming. The fact that you have not met with the one today doesn't mean you should not meet with the one tomorrow. When you cannot afford it, okay, when you cannot afford it, you should be very, very clear in your communication. You cannot afford it. That's what I do. I don't know how to beat around the bush. I cannot afford it now. You live, yes, we have to do all of these things together, but I don't have the finances to do that. Okay, that's what I do. But it doesn't mean you should not contribute otherwise. There are other ways you can contribute for that event to happen without you necessarily dropping money. You could coordinate. What skills do you have? You could contribute your skills to it. And once people see that you are participating for the success of the event, they will even forget that you did not contribute financially for it. So when something happens in the family, what is your stance? Are you the kind who just sends money and sits quiet? Or you are the kind who participates till everything is done? That's a question for you. If you were the one kind who just sends money and sits quiet, it means every day they will be expecting money from you, only money. And the day money does not come, you have yourself to blame. Okay? So we cannot deny our reality. We are not grown only by our parents. Okay? We are grown by our aunts, our uncles, even far cousins, okay, by even a village. So when something happens, we are expected to contribute. That contribution should not always be in terms of finances when you don't have it. That is my candid advice.
Thank you very much, Otto. You've really spewed some words of wisdom here. It's not only about the money that you give to your family if something is happening. It's also your contribution. It's also you being there. It's also your skill. Like for example, most people that are on this call are IT related people. Maybe it could be your sister's graduation, your mother's graduation, and they say, oh, everybody's contributing this money. But if you don't have money, you say, hey, me, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to design all of the flyers for the events. Maybe I'm going to be the one to take all of the photos and edit them on maybe some nice software. And like you said, that definitely is going to just clear off everything that they assuming that you don't want to support. So we have 9 more minutes to go. So we'll be wrapping up with the chit chat so we can dive into the second phase, which is going to be questions and answers. So let's get to Alice one more time. Alice, when you are on a low budget or you are on low income, how do you still look forward to making investments such that it does not hurt you? Investments on a low income.
So regarding the, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
My connection is not. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
So regarding the aspect of investment on a low income, it really just depends now on what kind of investment we are referring to. So at the end of the day, we have different domains, we have different sectors that requires people to bring in cash. So regardless of how much you're earning at the end of the month, you can always look for somewhere to invest. At times you might have maybe, like for instance, let me give an example. You have the typical buy and sell and people who are probably even just selling in the market, right? Generally these people do their business on a very small scale, and at times they are in need of cash, and that cash that they need in order maybe to get this specific to increase their production by, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's like a very little, they might need that amount of money, and you can come in and be like, hey, I can loan you this, or I can bring in this as an investment, and maybe you pay me back in so and so period. And the thing is, in our economy today, small business owners account for over like 70% of businesses that exist, and the challenge with small business owners is generally around scaling. The difficulty with us is that we always look at scaling as something that is true that it does requires a lot of capital, but it's like a very, very gradual and incremental thing where you know that this is your end goal, but in order for you to get it, you could maybe get a little bit amount of money from this person, and together it gives you whatever you need in order to scale. And generally, people on a very low income can easily look at that. We have several other investment sources. Like, for instance, we have, for us here in Cameroon, but it's very difficult to get access to even the information and everything. But we have things like, let me give an example, right? We have things like government bonds, treasury bills, but those are things that generally require a lot of money. But if you have access to the right network, you realize that even with a very little amount of money, you can bring in your contribution, and it's generally very secure and safe, and you get your interest probably yearly for like the next 2 to 3 years. But it's information that unfortunately the average Cameroonian does not have access to, reason why it now becomes very difficult. There are several people who do also in things like crypto, trading, and all of that. So we have like different sources. It's just to really get close to. Let me give an example. We are in a community, right? We know that we have Mr. Otto here who has like a lot of experience. We know there's Mr. Martin. We know this and this person. So what really kills a lot of us is there is just a lack of communication, because at times you can have like, let's say 20,000, 30, 50,000 even, or 100,000. You can approach one of these people and you're like, hey, I have this amount of money. I'm really wondering where I can put it that it can eventually generate me some capital. And you'd be very shocked, like that several businesses, even people who do things like mobile money, for instance, they get exterior investment from the average Cameroonian. So we have several sources. So my advice would really be get close or in contact with someone who you know might eventually have this information, and you speak with them. We have several of these sources, so you just need to network with someone that can give you access, and you're like, okay, let me try out this or let me try out that. So yeah, that would be my take of it.
Thank you, Alice. We'll just quickly switch to Mr. Otto here. Is there a possibility for somebody to make an investment without cash? And if there's a possibility, what is the potential of somebody making investment which doesn't necessarily involve finances, but then you're seeing that the investment can materialize in the future to become finances? Mr. Otto?
Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, most of them made their first money, their first billion, without
Whoops, he just disappeared into thin air. I'm not sure why, but we'll give. Alice, do you think you could contribute to that while we get to get Mr. Otto back on track?
So I mean, I'm sure the end of his thought process was going towards most of these people really do not have anything. But well, let me not guess. Well, my own contribution would be that one of the greatest investment you could actually do is in yourself. And the thing is, a lot of people are scared, but deciding to start a venture on your own is a very big investment. You might not have the means, you might not have the tool, but you can have an idea. And at the end of the day, that idea could be what would feed yourself and your family for the next 10, 15 years. So one of the greatest investment you can do would actually be in yourself. Maybe you don't have any money, but you have an idea, and ideas would generally translate into bringing in income. So you could have an idea, you don't know even how to start, but you could pitch the idea to people around you. It could be family. Family is generally very advised because your family is like your primary support. They are the people that they would, the money you get from your family. In the world of entrepreneurship, we call it love money. They don't give you money because they really believe in you, but they just love the flame that they are seeing in your eyes and they want to support you. So that's like a great place from where you can go pitch an idea, and you can even get like little bit of money from them. And even if you don't get, they could link you to someone that you can meet and potentially start up something with them, and eventually it blows up. So at the end of the day, we mostly look at how can I put 10,000 here so that tomorrow I have 100,000. But we don't also think that, hey, I could be the one that can take up this initiative and start something on my own. And who knows, maybe if I get this little clothing business, then tomorrow I can potentially have a store in Boya, in Bamenda, in Yaoundé, and all of that. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, thank you. So you have just 2 minutes so that we to add to that, and then we close this.
Sorry, my internet messed me up. Okay, I was saying that most entrepreneurs, right, don't come with money. They contribute themselves, their talents, their time, okay, into the project. And when it becomes successful, they become billionaires. That's their own contribution. That's what Mr. Martin is doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what Alice has done, okay? That's what entrepreneurs do. So that's one of the main sources. If you cannot start it, you can join, okay, when it's already started. Right, you become a co-founder or one of the pioneer employees there, and you earn stock options. Okay, when the business becomes a success, you cash out your stock options. You become a millionaire or something like that. This is the best way you can go without money. Another way is you could have other properties. You could have a piece of land, and some people want to want to do something, they need a land, you say, okay, my own contribution for this project is that piece of land. Okay, you contribute it and it's evaluated, then you get a percentage from it. Okay, you could have a car, it becomes your own contribution. So whatever property you have, whatever thing you have that's of value, it must not be money, can be your contribution into a project so that you become a partner. Profit starts coming, you get your cut. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. So we'll take 1 minute. Alice, you give your final conclusion and advice on how you can make healthy and wise financial decisions on a low income. So Alice, you have 1 or 2 minutes, and then we'll move to Mr. Otto, and then we can close this and go to the question and answer session.
All right, thank you very much. So my final conclusion would be, let's hustle hard. At the end of the day, it's not an easy journey. It's generally very tough. We are in an economy where everything revolves around money. The truth is that at the end of the day, if you don't have money, it's going to be very difficult for you. So hustle, and hustle again. And my own advice would be hustle in the right way, because I'm totally against illegal means of really hustling. So hustle in the right way, and eventually our hustle will pay off. So that would be my own advice.
Thank you to you, Chief Otto. Healthy and wise financial decisions on low income.
Number 1 is discipline. Just discipline yourself, keep track of your records, okay, then find opportunities. One thing I missed, we have Njangis. Njangis are very important. You can join in Njangi, that's 20K per month. There are 10 of you. You join that, is 200,000 when it's your time to benefit. With 200,000, you can do something, okay? So, again, discipline yourself. Don't look at all the others who are around. Just discipline yourself. Keep track of your finances, okay? Find opportunities for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Otto. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Alice, for this beautiful session, this insight that you've shared, your experiences, your advices, your recommendations. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the first part of Tech Chantiers Community ChitChat, and we're talking about how to make healthy and wise financial decisions on low income. And we've had Engineer Nde Alice, CTO and co-founder of Mindqua, and also on the other side we've had Mr. Otto B. Isong, the managing director of Genie Capital. Now we are diving into the phase 2 of our chit chat, and phase 2 is going to be mostly questions, or it's going to be mainly around questions. And so welcome back. So if you have questions which you would like to ask, concerns, even your ideas, your own opinions that you want to share, please feel free. You can either use the comment section, or you just raise your hand and I'll call you to ask your questions. It's an open invitation now for every person to ask their questions or give your own contribution on something that you feel like. Okay, Mr. Ebon Victory, please go ahead.
All right, good evening, everyone. Mine is more or less a contribution and not really a question. So I think it was Mr. Otto who, when I joined the meeting, was speaking about credit facilities not being accessible to Cameroonians, and that being some sort of a negative issue for us. Well, I don't think we lacking credit facilities here in Cameroon is much of a negativity, because if you look at the Western world, let's take a case study of the US, which I believe he mentioned. There's a lot of people or a lot of Americans who live on debt. Basically, credit means debt. That's you're living on debt. For example, if you want to go and buy a car, and the car costs, let's say, 5 million francs, and you don't have 5 million francs on you, you go and then you pay an initial deposit of maybe 250K, and then you start paying monthly. The bank actually buys the car on your behalf, and then you start paying monthly. The same thing you do for house, the same thing you do when you want to buy a phone and for major purchases. Now, you living like that, you are accumulating debt. You have a car loan which you have to pay, you have a mortgage which you have to pay, maybe you have a payment plan for your phone, you have a payment plan for this item. At the end of the day, you discover that if you should for any reason be out of the job and maybe you're laid off, you may eventually lose everything overnight. You may lose your car, the bank will repossess the car, repossess the house, you may even lose your phone, just because you did not buy those things with your own money. Of course, there are benefits of you being able to use credit, and credit is really, really important for business at a certain level. But I don't think allowing credit to become mainstream is really that advantageous to us. Our mindset, Africans in general, tend to spend a lot when they have money which is available to them. And that's what credit is. People are having credit cards and all of that. So I don't think it's really bad for us not having some of those facilities available for us. Maybe in the area of school, maybe for schooling or for something which is progressive or something which down the line is going to become a source of income, you being able to get that thing on credit is advantageous. Maybe you getting an investment, maybe you buying a machine on credit. That machine is going to help you to make more money. Yes, that's understandable, but if it's for consumer goods, things which are not going to make any money in the long run, things which are just going to depreciate, I think you're just eating the money of tomorrow today, and that's not going to be very good. Secondly, as for recording your finances, there are so many Android apps available on the Play Store, and I also believe on the Apple Store, which have been put in place to kind of mitigate this issue. It's true you could also do it on PowerPoint. Sorry, not PowerPoint, how's it called again? Excel, rather. You could also do it on Excel, but that would require a lot of work and require you coming up maybe to your laptop and filling a lot of issues. It's true you can automate the whole thing and use Google Slides or use another means to automate everything. But let me just mention an app. There's an app I discovered some time ago, about maybe 2 years ago. It's called Wallet. There are so many of them there, but that's the one which I would recommend to any person who asks me about that. It's a very, very powerful tool when it comes to personal financial management. It helps you have the possibility of recording your daily transactions, whether it be for sources of income, whether it be for spending, whether it is for loans. And then they also give you the possibility to visualize your spending for a given period of time. You can visualize your spending trend. Maybe you spent more on fruit and groceries in this week, or maybe you spent more on internet and that in this week, or basically things like that. If you have that ability to see where your money is going to, I think it would help you to make wiser financial decisions when it comes to your personal financial management. And then lastly, I'd just like to mention that if you already have a plan for money that is coming in, it will be very, very difficult for you to raise the money. For example, let's say your salary is 70K per month, and you know that already in this 70K, you already have a formula. When the 70K hits, I put this money here, I put this one here, I put this one here, I put this one here, and I'm left with 25K to use for the month. And the rest of the money you have put in far-off accounts or far-off places where you cannot easily access it. That one will really help you to attain your financial goals and to cut down on your spending, because you already have an action plan. But if you don't have an action plan, money enters your account, your salary, or maybe one of your family members suddenly just gives you 100K. And the money is sitting there in your momo. Before you know, you have withdrawn 5K. Before you know, you have withdrawn 25K. because you don't have any active plan, you would end up using the money and you'll be like, anyway, they give me that, so I don't go. Because you actually never had an active plan, any financial budgeting and all of that. So those are just my little contributions for today. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebong. I think Alice has a reaction towards that. Please, Alice, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first, thank you very much to Mr. Ebon for the contribution. I would really love to add a little bit on it. So in regards to, so I would like to really give like a tip I use personally, right? So for me personally, I've been able to evaluate my spending habit daily, weekly, monthly, and what I do is at the end of the month when I get my paycheck, I tell myself, hey, every month I'm going to be every week I'm going to be spending. Let me give an example. Every week I spend 10,000 francs. So I know 10,000 times 4, that's like 40,000. And then I can keep like maybe 15,000 francs for miscellaneous or something like that. And the rest of the money, I save it up. And generally my saving option here is the Inqua app, where it's like a lock account where I just send the money there. And relatively, what I do is every week I have 10,000 francs in my purse. Now, inside the 10,000, obviously I've already planned how it's going to be used. Could be feeding, transportation and all of that, but I know that this is the budget I have. If at the end of the week there is like some leftover from the 10,000, then I save it up. Or I can really just maybe now make myself happy, go out with some friends and be like, okay, I can afford this luxury because I have this little bit that was left. So personally, that's like one of the things I do, and I really just want to maybe suggest it to people. Yeah.
Thank you. So lock the money up somewhere that it will be hard for you to reach the money, because if you have it on your Momo, someone just asks you like, hey, send me 2K Vang, send screenshot Vang, what's in a showing. So Emmanuel, I think you had your hand up. After Emmanuel, go to Mr. Tabi Idris. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the chance to give my views on some of the issues raised. Are you getting me?
Yes, we can get you. Yes, Mr. Samuel.
Yes,
Emmanuel,
we are getting it.
Okay, yes. I've noticed that I'll be 50 in a few days' time, and I've been very observant about money. I didn't make much money myself, but I've been very keen on the subject. I've noticed that I had some age mates who broke all the rules, but somehow money kept coming to them. And I've been thinking about that. There are certain things we have said here which sometimes become barriers in themselves. I give you an example. You are earning 100K. You say, okay, because the salary is small, let me look for a studio for 30,000 so that I can have a lot of money back to myself. But you are going to get that cheap house in a quarter where other cheap people are living. And that's somehow going to block your potential because you are not going to meet the right persons. In fact, in that your quarter, everyone looking up to you. You have limited yourself by putting yourself in a setup where the potential to meet the right people and to make the next steps becomes limited. So what are we saying here? The amount should not always be the guiding principle. Rather, it should be the need. If it is really necessary, what is your strategy? What is your plan? It is not the figure that should scare you. In fact, there are certain things that, while we chase money, there are certain things that money chases. I think the speakers already demonstrated that. There are when you have a clear idea that is win-win, even if you don't have the money to finance it, people are going to buy into it, and you have it succeed. It's happened severally, in small scale, in a big scale, and so on. There's a lot of people who have a lot of money, but who need just people that they can trust, like in our country today. There are it's difficult to start a business and have a third party run it. You put in a few million francs, the young man is there. Let's say it's a shop, he sells for 50,000 francs a day and steals 20,000 francs, gives you 30. At the end of the season, when you do an analysis and say that, okay, he has cheated you by this amount, he brings a ledger telling you that I've been giving my boss money, now that it's time to settle me, he doesn't want to settle me, he's bringing up issues so that he can send me off without payment. So what I'm trying to say is, let the figures not be your guiding principle. After all, money, as most of those people who talk about finances say, we are not able to define it, which means we don't really know what it is. There are people who break the rules about it and still succeed. Other countries are backing their money with gold and other resources. Some are backing their own money with arms. The American dollar is not backed by any amount of gold. It is the military bases that compel people to use it, and the dollar has its value kept. And the American economy is run on debt. Meanwhile, we're here scared of debt. The entire American population is indebted, and so on and so forth. In short, it looks as if it's only our government that understands that we can live on debt, because when we are afraid to borrow, they have already borrowed on our behalf. So what I'm trying to say, the long and short of it is, don't be afraid of figures. Don't let money be the deciding factor. Let your passion, your convictions guide your actions, even if there is no money. If you tell yourself that you need 5 million to do something that will produce 50 million, and that thing is very clear to you how it can produce 50 million, the 5 million will not be lacking, even if your salary is 50K. That's my own contribution. I hope it's clear enough.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Emmanuel, and congratulations on almost reaching 50. Your wisdom is so deep, and I really honestly I can relate to that. There are some decisions I made in my life that pushed me like 2 steps ahead, which wasn't based on the finances I had, was based on a risk that I knew that I had to move to a certain level to do certain things. And it's kind of a risk. They say it's not life, not risk. So maybe sometimes you just have to make that big shift to where you want to live. Because where you live, like you said, you may be living in a quarter where you have just people of low mind, and as compared to in a bigger quarter where you have people of bigger minds you can easily rub shoulders with. So yes, thank you very much for that contribution, and we are happy that we have a very elderly person attending our chit chat and giving us some very very cooked wisdom. Mr. Idris Tabi had his hand up. I don't know if Mr. Idris, you want to go ahead. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I was about talking especially on the part where trying to manage your budget or trying to manage your activities based on what you have could be a blocking factor, which Mr. Emmanuel actually elaborated on more than I could do. The other thing which I was thinking about was Alice talked about tracking your budget, and I think the other person also did. Now, let's face reality, especially for those of us who are here in Buea. You can be working for a firm that can go for the next 6 months without paying you, or you do some services that the clients will not pay you for a good number of months. In such case, what do? Because I think, have tried that and you realize that it's difficult to track your expenses at a particular point in time when it is not regular, especially if you're working for a firm. So I don't know if any other person has had experience with that, but in such case, what do?
Very good question. Okay, I think Mr. Emmanuel, do you want to?
Yes. Earlier on in my life, I was a Catholic teacher in St. Vitus College in Cambe. And as we all know, we used to go for several months without pay. And I realized that during the time that I'm not paid, I didn't die. Somehow I survived, and I spent less money than I would have spent. And I realized that if I'm paid regularly, it is even more difficult to save the money because the idea was that the salary is small, if you understand what I mean. Now, when you have an employer like that, when I have an employer like that, and I've had some in my career, I only pray that after 6 months, he should give all my salary to me at once, which can make a very significant sum that can enable me to start up something by the side. Presently, I live and work in Yaoundé. My salary is around that of an average Cameroonian. But what I do is that I engage in jaggies equal to my salary. Then on the side, I sell honey. I put up some capital by the side. I sell honey and I live on honey. I pay my rent from honey and I feed myself from honey. Then when I host my Njange, I have my project that I just undertake at once, which is usually an investment and which has to be giving me back some returns almost immediately. So that's the way I handle that kind of situation. We don't have much choices in Cameroon because you can't do without those employers who have to build up. Sometimes, if you have not employed somebody yourself, you will not know what it means. I started a farm somewhere, and every month I had to go and take my salary from my job and come and share to the farm workers who kept saying that their salary was small. But when we looked at the accounts together, we saw that their marginal value could not cover even their salaries. Of course, as the entrepreneur, I had to bear those burdens. And I think that we as employees, we have to try to understand. Sometimes our bosses are not able to pay us in time because they really cannot. I know that there are those who have bad faith, but there are those who cannot. And let us use that period of no salary as an opportunity to have some compulsory savings that eventually come to help push us ahead. Thank you. That's all I can say about that from my own personal experience.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Mr. Otto, you have something to add to this. As an employer, what will you say as regards this part?
Idris, keeping records, right, is not about whether you have money or not. It's just that you should be keeping records. Now, about respecting budget is a whole different ballgame. You cannot... A budget is what? A plan of what you intend to make and how you intend to spend it. You already know that your employer may go for 2-3 months or 6 months without paying you your dues, right? How do you make your budget with that into consideration? That's the thing. Because if you don't make the budget with that into consideration, you have already planned to fail. That's the reality here is business is hard. While I mentioned earlier that the fact that we lack credit in this society is a bad thing, somebody thought it's not, but I still insist it's a bad thing because credit is built on trust. Now, when we don't have credit, it means we don't have trust. Business is hard. And most of the businesses you see around employing 1 or 2 persons, these small businesses, right, they have nowhere to fall back on. When the clients don't pay, they don't have money and they cannot pay their staff. That's what I've experienced. I've actually had my staff left me along the way because I was owing the about 1.5 months salary. They left. Okay, but that's the reality. Sometimes things don't just go. So you as the person who is financially smart, you are supposed to plan for those times, without which you will crash. Remember, we are here because we want to be better in our finances, irrespective of the small income we have and the inconsistencies in the payment of the incomes we could have. Okay. And please, it's important to keep track of what you earn and what you spend. It's important. If you don't keep track, you will not know. Mr. Emmanuel, thank you very much for the inputs. I love your contribution. Okay, I think thanks, Auntie Boss. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Idris, I don't know if that gives an answer to your question, or you have a follow-up question as regards that. Idris, if you're talking, your mic is muted. Okay, maybe he's. We assume from the thunderous silence that it's answered his question. Please, if you have any other question, contributions, comments, worries, concerns, please do well to unmute your mic and go ahead and ask them. I hope I'm not speaking alone.
No, you are not speaking alone.
Oh, okay.
When we watch movies, right? When we read magazines from other countries, we hear people talking about the stock market. They talk about bonds, stocks and bonds, and we start seeing lots and lots of opportunities for people to invest all over the world. But we'll get back into our society. We realize we don't have these things. We have them, but they are not as functional as we would have wished they could be, right? We actually have a stock exchange we have a stock exchange in Semak. We actually have the government selling bonds, okay, every now and then. But these things are not available to you and I, the common man, the average man on the street. Now the question is, what other ways can we invest? When we hear things like Tex Global, they get lots and lots of people invest in them, then they disappear into thin air with the money. It tells us that Cameroonians are really looking for where they can put their money, and that money works for them. But these instruments that work in other parts of the world don't work readily for us. So what can we do? That's a question I'm throwing back to everybody. If we want to be able to save, to be smart financially, right, we should be able to manage our budget so that we can invest. Now, when we have the money, where should we invest it in? I don't want to work. Okay. For that, I already have a full-time job. I just want to put my money so that it works for me. What can I do? It's for everybody, please. We should contemplate it.
Thank you, Mr. Otto. I think Mr. Ebom's hand is up. I don't know if it's an answer to the question or it's another reaction, but you can go ahead.
I had another reaction to give, but I didn't really get the question. Let me just give my reaction anyway. I'm one of the people who just spoke some minutes ago spoke about America's currency not being backed by gold. I think in the world currently, it's just one country who is trying to peg their currency's value back to gold, and I think that is Zimbabwe. After all, the rockers focus which they have experienced over the years and the heavy inflation and all of that. I think as young people in this 21st century, we should do our best to be up to date with information that is happening around the world, especially when it comes to finances. We should be able to make inferences from what has happened in the past, and we should use present information to be able to predict the future. For example, what he said right now, a lot of people in the world are losing their trust in fiat money, which is what we all are using. Many people are losing their trust in the American US dollar. First of all, the rise of cryptocurrency was because people were like, fiat money is controlled by the government, by banks, and it's not really a stable source of wealth. If you go to a country like Nigeria where there's heavy inflation there, if you have 3 million today, in 6 months, that 3 million could be worth over half of what it was worth 6 months ago, just because of the heavy inflation, and as such, it's not a really good source of wealth. So I think as young people in this 21st century, we should be up to date with the financial trends happening around the world. There are so many people who are switching to other forms of wealth storage like gold and silver. Some people are investing into real estate and other things where they know their investment will be more secure and where they know their investment is not going to evaporate because one person rose up one morning and decided to push a button to print more money. Another issue is that even though as Africans we are somehow limited by the opportunities we have, but as techies, there are ways which we can go past some of those things. Relating to investments, there are so many investments we can make, even if they are not local investments. If we can be well coordinated and well disciplined, we can invest in the stock exchange, not necessarily Cameroon's own, because Cameroon's own is not open to the public, as the last speaker just mentioned. But there are other stock exchange which you can invest in. We can also spend some time and invest in maybe forex trading and see how we could start investing in that, if that is going to be something that we think it can help us. Investing in the S&P 500 and other stock options. A company like Nvidia, their stock price is going up very, very high. I think recently it just hit the $1,500 mark per share, which is quite incredible for any company. And these are things which, if we are aware of and we follow the trends, we'll be able to make the predictions and be able to cash out where big things happen. Someone said, I think, I don't know who exactly said, but he said, Cameroonians have a problem where they don't have access to information. That's true, but I would say if you don't have access to information in this 21st century, it's more an issue of choice and not an issue of lack of information, because information is available. It's true, having local information is not easy, but there are ways around it. I, some time ago, decided I'm going to invest in a newspaper subscription because I see that one of the ways of being informed about things that happen in this country is for you to read the newspaper. Because if you want to go online, you hardly see anything online. And we don't have content creators like maybe in a country like Nigeria that are always updating, their viewers and bloggers on what is happening, what the government is doing. And I don't think even on Twitter we are so active, but Twitter is also another option. But when it comes to information, we should really be proactive about it, and we should do what we can to get the information that is required. So basically what I'm just saying is, as young people, we should not make the mistake of not seeking information, and we should be able to follow the trends of what happened in the past, what is happening currently, to be able to have an idea of what is going to happen in 5 to 10 years to come, so that we can make informed decisions, so that when people are maybe cashing out from the boom that is to come, or when people are being saved from the terrible things that are happening, we would not be victims. We would also be on the safe side, rejoicing and be happy that we made the decisions when we did. And that can only happen if we are well informed and if we are diligent enough to sit down, to study, to research, and to do what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ebong. And I hear there that information is power. We should go searching for that information so we can make better financial decisions. Thank you very much for that intervention there. Mr. Otto talked about what are the other ways which we can make money, what are the other sources. So we'll just be taking other questions. I feel like we don't have a lot of questions, so we'll just give like 5 more minutes for, 5 more minutes for extra questions. If not, then we'll be wrapping up the program very soon. Okay, the thunderous silence says that either everybody has understood everything that we're saying, or we've done a very terrible job today, but I'm hoping it's the former. So I think we have gradually come to the end of our chit-chat session. Thank you to every person that attended this session. Before we go, we'll get the last words from our 2 main speakers. Mr. Ebong, I think we had time for questions. I didn't get a hand up, so we will just pass on this and continue for next week. Thank you. So We have final words from start with Engineer Alice. Your final advice, word of advice to every person that's in this chit chat and those that are going to be following the recordings are going to be posted, how to live, or what are your advice on how to make make healthy and wise financial decisions even on low income? Alice?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. So my final advice for everyone here and for people who would be watching the recording after would be that so first, I mean, I would really like to say it's not an easy journey. We are all struggling with the incomings of life. So my advice would be, first, it's really about like, what's the word even? Endurance. At the end of the day, your ability to be powerful is not really by maybe us counting the victories that we've been able to accumulate. If you fall 10 times, then you should be able to wake up 11 times, and that's what would really make you to come out victorious. So for me, my advice would be, it's not an easy journey, but keep doing what you do, keep persevering on it. Always strive to be a higher version of yourself, because the moment you feel like, hey, that's it, I'm here, I'm fine here, then it might be a little bit challenging. So always just keep trying to be a higher version of yourself. And discipline is key, very, very important. At the end of the day, life has several things in it. We might want all of the fancy things in life, but at times discipline is very, very important, especially when you're striving to reach a specific point. So it's very, very important. So that would be my advice. And since it's like the last word, I'd really just like to say thank you very much to Tech Shanti and Mr. Martin for the initiative. It's very, very great coming here, having this chat with everybody, listening to the various input from everyone. It's a very, very good thing. I mean, we learn every day, right? So at the end of the day, it's about sharing, it's about informing ourselves, and it's about learning so that we grow. And I think this session was really able to meet up with all of those. So thank you very much for organizing this session. And thank you so much to everyone who really took out the time to join, to listen. It's very nice. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insights. We move to Mr. Otto Peseka.
First, I want to appreciate everybody who is here. It's good to know that people are really interested in learning about finance and they are keen, in developing themselves financially. It sweetens my heart. So I applaud all of you, and I want to thank Madam Alice for the insight she shared. For a young lady to have that much means she's been doing her homework. Thank you very much. And for the boss of Tech Shanti and Tech Shanti team, I appreciate what you guys are doing. If there is any last word I will echo Mr. Ebom. Don't limit yourself to the realities of Cameroon. Yes, accept the reality, but don't limit yourself to it. Explore opportunities as much as possible. And I'll insist again, be disciplined. Don't get carried away with the noise around, If you have your goal, stick to it and strive, work towards it. Find the opportunities and inform yourself, because without which you might have that goal and nothing happens. So don't limit yourself to the realities of this country. If you do, you'll be messed up. Cameroon technically sucks. But we have to work to make it work for us and for the generations to come. It's something we must do. For us to do that, we are supposed to get inspiration from other parts of the world and deploy such inspirations here. Thank you.
And thank you again very much, Mr. Otobeseka. Thank you to the last 15 people that are standing. We had a total of about 40 persons that have joined the call. I think some had left to go rest, some left to do other things. So thank you everyone who has been able to make it to this end. Thank you, Engineer Alice. Thank you, Mr. Otobeseka. Thank you to the people that were courageous enough to unmute their mic and share their experience and ask questions. So we will convert you again at the end of June for another chit chat. All of the information will be available on our social media. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, that's X, and on LinkedIn. You can look for us at Tech Chantier and connect with us, like, follow our page, so that once we post the next chit chat, you will be alerted and you can follow us there. Thank you again very much, and do have an excellent evening and excellent weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.